It's post-match. It's Liverpool 2, Everton 0 at Anfield. It's me and Les Roberts going over the game there. Personally, let's get straight into it, Les. I don't think Everton particularly deserved, well, certainly not a 2-0 defeat. I think obviously you'll get the other half and probably most other fans of football thinking that, yeah, Liverpool probably just about deserved this. But given the way we played, let's start with the positives here. I thought there wasn't the usual bottling it sort of job from the Everton 11 that went out there. Yes, there's obviously a specific way that Sean Dyche wanted Everton to set up against the side and frustrate them and have some sort of counter-attack effort from ourselves. But by and large, I think we largely did what he'll have asked to do. And there were there are a few decisions which didn't go our way, as you'd expect at that place. And 2-0 defeat's harsh on us, isn't it?
I think so. I think from the if you split the game into two halves, the before the red card and after, I thought everything was working like as we'd hope it to be for both parts of that. I think leading up to Ashley Young's second yellow card, which we'll get into soon, I'm sure. We were limiting them to not very many chances. Calvert-Lewin obviously had the best chance of the half, I think, but that header, just in the first few minutes. But I thought it was quite an even game. Both teams were just sort of feeling each other out. They probably had the best of the attacking impetus. We had this weird thing whereby we were leaving committing loads of men at corners, and they hit us on the break a couple of times. But aside from that, I thought everything was working fine. We pretty much matched them all over the park. And again, I thought it was quite a brave decision to ride out that last 10 minutes of the first half with 10 men. But it worked. We went in 0-0. I thought, going to 5-3-1, I probably wouldn't have done that. I probably would have gone 4-4-1, if I'm honest. But, I think that was working up until the penalty. You can say all you like that Michael Keane's a liability, and he is. But you kind of think if the manager wants to go to that formation and that formation was working, I don't think there's much else he can do, is there? Unless he drops Mikalenko back in there, unless it's McNeil at fullback, something like that. I think that's pretty much the obvious sub. If you're going to go 5-3-2, 5-3-1, that's the obvious sub you're going to make. Now, I know Michael Keane is a liability and he seems to cost us loads and loads of goals. But I think in that regard, if the manager wants to play that, his hands are kind of tied with that substitution. Yeah. I tweeted in the week, actually, that he'd be responsible for the goal that we concede. And he was. Just picking up on that, you can't have any complaints. The ball was close to him when it was hit, but he honestly looked like he was running for the bus. And I just don't know why his arm was where it was. It was a stick-on penalty. Absolutely no question about it. And it was unfortunate because, up until that point again, we were keeping them out. They had a couple of chances, but, they weren't dominating us the way I thought. As soon as we go down to 10 men, you would expect Everton to shit the bed there and be about 3 down after an hour. But they didn't. We made them look particularly ordinary there, I thought. They'll come out and say it wasn't a great performance and we still won 2-0. I think we can come out and say, it wasn't a great performance from them. But it was a fucking great performance of the referee for them, which annoys me because I don't want to have to talk about the referee every fucking time this fixture gets played.
Yeah.
But with things like today, it's impossible not to because it, they may still have beaten us. Even if they went down to 10 men, they may still have beaten us. But it would be nice once in a while just to have the chance to have an even playing field. Because that, I'm not going to put too fine a point on it. It was a fucking disgraceful performance from that referee. I've not been getting angry or worked up all. I've been quite philosophical going into the game because I don't expect anything. But it genuinely makes your blood boil when you see shit like that. Because it's out of order. It's pathetic.
I need to ask you when you said this about him, and I completely agree with you that his performance as a referee was a joke and it was embarrassing. And in any normal circumstance, he'd be the type back in the day who get next week refereeing at a lower level league. That's what he used to do. Remember that happened to Uriah Rennie a few times back in the day. He'd be in League One the next week. Do you know what I mean? But he then have him back in the Premier League that we have to. On that though, and it might well be obvious to most people here, and I'm going to slate her for this, but won't dive into it too much. But I do want to do you want to get sort of delved into the specifics with him? I thought the sending off was right with Ashley Young. In terms of right, I thought it was just a sending off out of the original book of
I
refereeing.
can I just cut in there? Right, it was 2 yellow cards.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was 2 yellow cards, but Simicast was also a yellow card, which was minutes after
Correct.
Ashley Young got booked for the same thing. That's the first strike for the referee for me.
Hmm.
And if you're gonna book, if every player's gonna get a yellow card for every bookable challenge, you're gonna end up with 88 every week. That was his 2 fouls he made. He got booked for both. Now, how often do you see it where the referee goes, "You got one more chance there. Any more of that, and you're off."
Yeah, that's the common sense approach, isn't it?
We can go straight to the second half where there's an absolutely fucking nailed on example of that where Canate fouls Beto and the referee does nothing. It's a second yellow card. If you're gonna be giving out yellow cards like that, you've got to give them out consistently. Yeah. You don't because he never. But that's a stick on yellow card, and he doesn't give it. And fucking sure as anything, he gets subbed straight away. Now that just shows. Like Klopp knows he's got away with that one. Everyone knows he's got away with that one, and it's just not good enough.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing with that, like you say, I think back in the day, before the VAR and all that shit, you've seen it from referees where you see certain percentages that they throw in a newspaper for a weekend, like when they go to the so-called bigger sides in the Premier League, they'd have 70-80% of the favourites of refereeing decisions. And that was one of those games today, I felt. I think there were a couple of times as well in that, but like you say, you don't want to crack on about him too much. And certainly you can't really refer it to the reason why we lost. You mentioned Keane there with his arm out. Strangely, I wanted to say to you, I think, again, gone back in earlier years in the Premier League, that probably isn't given because people would regard that as a natural position where he's running towards his own line. And his body shape is going to be like that when he's reaching out. I mean, if you see that, you're a manager in football yourself. If you've seen that and it happened to your side, would you be upset with that?
No, because
you think that's right?
I don't know why his arm's that far out. If you're running,
yeah,
his arm was straight. It wasn't even bent. If you're running, you usually have your arm bent. It was straight out. It was weird. I don't know what he was thinking. Especially now as you see defenders. As soon as they get in the box, they do that weird thing where they tuck their arms behind the back, which is a completely unnatural position for your arms. But that's what a lot of them do. He did the complete opposite. I don't get what he was thinking. The only thing that was going to happen there was the ball was going to get crossed. So don't put your hand out. I can see, as I said, maybe it was a little bit close in because it was hammered at him, but his arm shouldn't have been there. For me, no. I've got no complaints at all with that penalty. Yeah. To be honest. But I think you're talking about referees getting demoted. Those decisions go the other way. That referee gets demoted.
Oh, yeah, and he gets... Maybe all we'd see all day long is on Sky Sports News, on fucking TNT, which you work for now. You'd see all...
I work for 5 Live now, Dave. I'm on against it.
Oh, yeah. There we go, mate, yeah. I don't even get paid for 5 Live anymore, but you do. I think that's right. But no, you see that, and that you're right, that's the thing that be discussed all day long on that, talking about why Liverpool were robbed of 3 points or a draw because Everton didn't get down to 10 men and they did.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the more positive things here. The two individuals that I thought were exceptional were Branthwaite, which we tend to expect now. I think he's destined for, I hate to say it, bigger and better things if Everton don't get their act together and go along with him. Great that he signed a new deal. And the other guy, which absolutely surprised me because I was already slating him before the game kicked off, was Mykolenko.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd say him.
He had Mo Salah in his arse pocket for the entirety of that game because he went off before they scored. Every single time he won the ball against him, he could track back with him. He was as quick as him. When he won it back, he'd play the right ball forward. He'd play it into anybody around him, or he'd cleared it up the pitch. That was an outstanding left-back performance. And do you know what, Les? I mean, obviously, we've lost the game. We're talking about the derby in a post-match chat here. But there were so many elements of that game that I thought, you know what, going forward, if we play like that, we're not going to be in trouble.
Yeah. I agree. Dice will probably get stick for it. Michael Keane will get stick for it. But yeah, I said that. I think we did all right. on Mikalenko, I mean, I've criticised him as much as anyone in the past.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
Salah got past him once in like the first minute, and then after that, he did not get a sniff. It was a brilliant performance, and I think he's probably low key been getting better every week. He's hopefully he'll grow into a. I don't think he's ever going to be your Leighton Baines type attacking fullback at all,
no,
but defensively, he's got everything he needs there to be a really good defensive left back, and for me, that's what you want from your left back first and foremost. You want them to be able to defend.
mm,
So yeah, I thought him and Branco were exceptional today. I thought Onana had a good game as well. That tackle he put in the first half, when I think he was surrounded by two or three of their players on the edge
yeah,
of our box, was outstanding. And I thought he had a very good game too. I say I can't feel too bad about that performance. I just feel annoyed at the referee, and again, and as I said, I hate having to speak about the referees every time this game gets
yeah,
played. But there was a stat actually. They were talking before the game about the amount of red cards in this fixture. It's the most in Premier League history, isn't it? I think it's like
yeah, yeah,
19. That could be 20 now. And I'm sure they said Everton have had 13 of those 19 or something stupid. So that'll be
yeah.
14 of 20. And I can't remember the last time that was a particularly dirty fixture. You
Well,
know, some
that's
of the
that's a
fouls I
really
think
interesting
of,
point.
Funes Mori, yeah, that was a horrible, horrible foul. But it's not been for a good 6, 7 years. I don't think a particularly dirty fixture, but players keep getting sent off. And if it's always or if it's consistently Everton players, you've then got to look at the referees, haven't you? And be thinking, why? What is this? Why is
Mm,
this happening? And it just baffles me. It really does. Because, as you say, to the letter Ashley Young had to go off. They were two yellow card offences. But
yeah,
then he had two instances for Liverpool at least where their players should have got booked, and one should have resulted in a red card, and it never
mm,
happened. And, they met 10v10. I don't think they get anything out of that game other than a draw. 10v10, you can't say for sure, but I think we hold our own in that game then. It totally changed the dynamic of the fixture. And I just think it's just dead annoying that we don't
yeah,
get the chance to play it out even handed because, they're a better team than us. They're a far better team than us. They don't need an advantage like that, but we
mm,
consistently get one. And it's just dead annoying. I didn't expect anything out of the game. The only surprise was there wasn't a weird VAR decision that did us in, but he had Craig Pawson to do that. So
well, the interesting thing you said at the start, and it was inevitable we were going to talk about referees, but you said that we hate talking about referees because they're the ones that ruin ties and the way in which games finish and score lines and whatnot. If like I agree with you, if that didn't happen, if Ashley Young, obviously I'm no fan of Ashley Young, and fair play to him at 38, that he's still a Premier League footballer, but I would have started Patterson there myself anyway.
yeah,
Clearly, there may well have been an injury problem or whatnot. And he isn't 100% to go and do that. But seeing how if that happened, you talk about holding our own. I also thought that we frustrated them. If you listen to the crowd there as well, really, really quiet. They kept mentioning it time after time,
yeah,
and that was because I thought they were out of ideas. Really, pinging it out to Salah is the way they hit it. Mikalenko's keeping them quiet all game long. The alternative to that, I saw Alexander Arnold whipping crosses in. He only got a load of mini lads up front until he put Darwin Núñez on. And that's when you'd expect set pieces and crosses start going into the box. But when you see them start doing that, and I think they've always done that under Klopp, when you start seeing putting crosses into the box, it's like it's game over. This.
mm,
That's when, even when we were down to 10 men, I think we still kept them quite quiet. I don't remember Pickford until his last one in the last couple of minutes having to make an outstanding save. And then the other side of things as well is in an attacking package. I think that we tried to do, which is not to be unexpected with Dyche, is you want to play with your one man up front, get people in and around them when you can, get them to hold the ball up, and let's see where we go from there. I felt unfortunate for Calvert-Lewin, but I don't think that's any surprise, given that most of the times, if not all the times when we go there, that is the Everton way. We go there, try and keep one man on the halfway line who can run and just hassle their centre backs and hope we can get some players up there. I think that was very much the key. The first selection is going to be from Dyche. I was a little bit more interested in what you said there about Onana. It's bitten my words quite a lot because I've been slagging him off quite a lot recently, saying that he hasn't really stood up. He hasn't really done what you'd think of a player of the natural talent that he's got. Today I thought it was there. Today I thought the usual, let me, start putting my fists up towards the fans and getting everybody going. It wasn't. He put his head down and got involved with everything that came at him in the midfield. When I saw their midfield as well, Les, I have to say, I was ambitious. Really. I was quite happy with what I saw there. Relatively unknown players, relatively inexperienced lads. A couple of young players they brought in.
Yeah,
To their credit, they look like they're going to be really talented lads. Let's be honest. But I thought, you know what? That's where we can should actually get the better edge of that battle in midfield. Gardner, I didn't see Gardner enough. I don't think it was his kind of game, really. You're not going to get somebody like him with enough time on the ball.
yeah,
It's a little bit unfortunate for him. Onana, Decore, really surprised he didn't start Gay either. But yeah, I mean, by and large, I don't think there's much criticism to be had of Dyche. When he puts Beto on, though, I'm looking at that and thinking, I don't think this is the right decision. If you're going to get a draw in this game down to 10 men, they've already got 1-0 up. Put them on and keep Calvert-Lewin on and just go hell to leather for it
yeah,
and try and get your points out of it. Don't start, we'll do a little bit what we can. We'll put the big fella on who can sprint and he can battle it round with Virgil and all that shite. But I didn't get the point in taking, unless Calvert-Lewin isn't going to finish the full 90, which is ironic because we've been buzzing off how fit he looked against Bournemouth.
yeah.
You're putting a lad on who's struggled, really. Let's be fair. When you've seen Beto in the Premier League, I think he's struggled so far. I think there's plenty to come from him because he's got a lot of attributes you want to see. And then Schmidt at the end just looked like, yeah, lad, you won the lottery. Do you know what I mean? What did you think of those subs?
Yeah, I can see both sides really. I can see the logic in bringing Calvert-Lewin off purely from a fitness angle, and because if he breaks down after 80 minutes,
season over.
yeah, I don't want to say the game was lost at 1-0. The game was lost at 1-0, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was going to take something mad to get something out of that. So I can see I can see why you wouldn't want to keep Calvert-Lewin off for that long, just in case something happens. Because it might not be a recurrence of an old injury. It could be something like that broken cheekbone he got. He's on the cusp of being a dead unlucky player at the minute. So if you can sort of limit that, I can kind of see the point. But yeah, I agree. The like-for-like sub was never really going to work because you can see Beto doesn't bring enough to the attack. When you compare him to Calvert-Lewin, he just doesn't bring the same. But if you've got the two of them and he's just whacking the ball up for, because I didn't think Van Dijk was particularly good today. I thought he was a bit shit. I thought he was there to be got at. I think he's coming to that stage in his career. I'm hoping he's come to that stage in his career where people will start to get at him because he got beat for that header in the first few minutes a couple of years ago. He's cleaning up in the air there, even against Calvert-Lewin. So I think he's one who can be got at, and I think that's possibly what we should have done. But then you don't know if it was just sort of thinking, okay, we'll just sort of stick with what we've got in terms of trying to keep this at 1-0, see if Beto can do anything, rest Calvert-Lewin for next week. If we get a lucky break and we score off it, we get the draw. If we don't, we can feel a bit hard done by because of the referee. Yeah. Which, I hate that because I don't want to use it as an excuse. And I do think we probably would have got beat. Although there was nothing to suggest in that game that they would have beaten us 11v11 or 10v10. They just got better players, so that there's a good chance we get beat there. It just is. And history suggests that there's a very good chance that we get beat. But it's as I say, it's just frustrating, and that's the thing. What sticks in my head now, that referee's performance.
Yeah, it's what you don't know. That's the thing that gets in your mind most, in my opinion.
Yeah, but
you don't know would have happened. You refer to it there. Then we're down to 10. They've got 11. There's a couple of minutes left before they go and get the second goal with Salah. I think we had one corner, which was taken by Garner, which wasn't the greatest corner. And then we had one pretty much middle of the pitch that we couldn't. It's one of those that awkward. You don't really want that type of free kick when it's not on either side. When you need a diagonal ball to go in, and if it couldn't, like you say there, you don't know if that goes in. You don't know if we'd have had more of those chances. You don't know if Beto comes on, and because he's really quick, he gets a one-on-one, probably falls over and misses. But you don't know those matters, and that's what sticks in my head when you see those horrific unfair refereeing decisions.
And also, to go back to the subs, we took Harrison and McNeil off at half time, didn't we?
Yeah.
So that immediately sort of blunts any form of attack that we've got.
Two of our informed players as well. Two people who love their go-to game is to provide assists.
Yeah, and they were getting in quite a bit behind a couple of times in the first half. There was a couple of times in that first half where the final ball just didn't make it, or we didn't play it. And if we had done, one of our players is in. And that could be down to good defending from Liverpool forced us into that situation, or bad, play from us not releasing the ball early enough.
Yeah.
But as soon as those two come off, you're basically sitting in, aren't you, and defending. Do you think there's enough there though from today to sort of go into West Ham next week? It is West Ham next, in it, away, with a bit of confidence.
We haven't got a home game.
We've got Burnley in the cup, haven't we? On the 1st of November. But I think
that's right, yeah. So we got West Ham, then Burnley at home in the cup, Brighton at home in the cup, and then travel to Palace. So, I think what you've mentioned about Palace, which is the one that's different to the ones I've just mentioned in the home games coming up. I think you hinted at it there with the question you've just asked me. I think there's plenty I've seen from today which makes you think we can go down to London there and give West Ham, I'm not going to say a really good game, like with some sort of side that, we're probably going to lose, but we might have a chance. I reckon you can go and beat West Ham away. I know under Moyes what they've done in going and winning a trophy last season and stuff like that. Don't look at West Ham as any great unbeaten side. Let's hope I'm not. That's not a kiss of death when we come back from there next week. But I've seen and again, I think in a general capacity, what I've seen from Dyche and what he does for us away from home, dare to say, I feel a little bit more comfortable going away, given what we did at Brentford, given the way in which he starts games, given the amount of chances he creates as well. It's I don't know if you'd agree with this, but I prefer us playing away from home than at Goodison. I know you take away that 3-0 win against Bournemouth, but you look at the loss against Luton, Wolves, Fulham. There's a pressure from funds at home. Rightly so, fans. You're kicking up a fuss when we're playing shite and losing games like that at home. I think it's only natural for any group of fans to do that for their team playing at home. Going away, it's rather praising shithouse behaviour, isn't it? Because it seems like the players are in there thinking, all the pressure's off our shoulders now because there's only a couple of thousand over there. I can just play my game. I can get on and do what I want to do rather than trying to do what I need to do in front of Everton fans at home.
Well, that's it. Our home form's been terrible for a couple of years now, hasn't it? And I think if you look at the stats for it, the games that we've won at home are the games when we've had least possession, I think. When you're talking about us getting 50-60% possession at home, they're the games where we lose it. Because,
that's the irony there, Les, is we're all kicking off about that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, do you know what? I'd happily play counter-attacking football wherever. Yeah. Liverpool did that today in the first half. They looked their most dangerous when we were attacking them, and they broke quickly. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but you will get criticism for sitting in at home and trying to beat teams on the break. But if that's your main strength, just do it. If that's what the players feel comfortable doing, just do it wherever you're playing. That's sort of how I see it. But it is becoming problematic now, the home form, really problematic.
Yeah.
When you look at the games we've been beaten. Although the performances haven't been particularly bad, apart from Arsenal maybe at home and Luton, it's like it is a problem, and that needs to be addressed. However, sooner rather than later, because our away performances, as you said, have been pretty good, at least over the last few weeks as well. And I would include that today as well. I as you said before, we might get stick, or I might get stick for saying this, but I don't think that was a particularly bad performance from us.
No, I completely agree with you. That's spot on. We'll finish up now as well, but you mentioned there about the home games, and I don't think there's two that are much more difficult than Brighton at home and then Man United at home. I mean, that'll be a real test of what they can do at home under Sean Dyche. I need to check out what record he's had at home since he came. He had that first win against Arsenal, of course, but I'm not too sure we did too great at home. Well, and away as well, really, because we nearly won.
But the thing is with those two games, though, they're two teams who will probably want to come and have most of the ball.
So, absolutely right. Certainly Brighton anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this will bite me on the arse, but that might do us a favour. I think that's potentially in our favour. So long as they don't come and play us off the park and wallop us, I think the fact that they will come and they will want the ball to have the ball more than us, if we just let them, but in the right areas, so let them have the ball on the halfway line, let them have the ball, a bit out wide, let them have it in their own half, and then we press them forward where we need to. That's the way we should be playing against teams like that, I think, home or away. And, we might have to do that. So you never know. Whatever, it can't surely be as bad as Luton. Shouldn't have said that, should I?
You really shouldn't. Maybe we both of us have said some things about we're going to be great when we go away. We're going to be great when we go away from home. We're going to be sound when we can counter attack sides. That remains to be seen. But anyway, thanks as always for listening to us. Do let us know your comments, because I'm sure most of you disagree with what we've spoken about, because we've agreed a lot as well. Normally there's a lot of debate on this show.
So we just have an argument about something anyway.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, we'll find out anyway. No doubt there'll be a question that's aimed at us on next week's mailbag. But thanks for listening as always on post-match. We're always the first to get back with that. Comments, more than welcome as always. And as you know, podcasts pretty much every day of the week. We'll speak to you soon. Up the toffees.